Very good. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the October 20th meeting of the Orono Town Council Finance Committee. We have myself, Jacob Baker, Sarah Marks, Linda Shane, and Zach Turner. So with that, apologies for being late, but first on the agenda, Zach, finances.
Finances. So I don't have financial statements for you guys
Yes.
right now. And I'll try to go through quick. I did write a memo to Clint that I shared internally about kind of where we're at the moment in the finance department. Long story short, we're a bit behind, we're a bit backlogged. We bumped into some issues with the staff transitions and duty reassignments. And there are some projects that looked on the surface to be completed correctly and fully, and that wasn't quite the case once I started digging into it. So there's a lot of these projects that have popped up that have been fairly time consuming and that we're working through. That has resulted in us needing a little additional time with the auditors because we weren't quite on track with them. So they're coming back at the end of November to wrap up the FY25 audits. That is also why I don't have financial statements for you because the FY26 budget is not a trio at this point. So it didn't make sense to give you reports that have no budget.
So last week, we shifted towards him doing this year's budget and entering. I said, I want that.
Yeah.
We worked through where we were. We have identified 3 areas, it's property tax reconciliations, the sewer billing reconciliations for year end, and then health benefits that reconciling to those. And we've been working with it. Those are one of the ones in the area. I have taken on some ideas with him. We're working with an independent accountant that specializes in some of these areas and worked with, it's way under the spending threshold for council approvals, way under. Just something we're gonna try. We signed an agreement with them to test it for 10 hours of accounting support work to see if we can get caught up. I'll keep you posted a little bit in here. Bigger thing I think as I look at this is as you look at the rapid progression of Zach to finance director, the rapid loss of institutional financial knowledge and a new town manager coming in. There's just areas, the day-to-day is always the most important, but we had 2 surprises last week. And we had to work those in, and then we were working with the prior ones, and there's just things that they're not easy, anytime you had to research 5-6 months of financial records, it's time consuming. So I think the model of 3 we have is good.
Yep.
And they're all learning and training. And I think a little bit of time here, we're on a better model. Auditors and I have met, they're fine. Casey Leonard and I have spoken. He's very happy with the condition our books are. Like he said, we've recognized a little bit about how things were being done in the past and how things were getting done. And I'm building a different finance department. And we're gonna stick to it. We're not giving in yet. We're gonna hold the course till we have to. So right now we're working on that model, and I think things are going really, really well. The gentleman we have hired is Mark Roy, and you met with him today, right?
Yep, today.
So he's out of the Lewiston area.
Yep, Roy and Associates.
It's actually Roy and Associates used to be, now it's Blue Star.
Oh, okay.
County. Blue Star County. That's what he calls himself.
To make a good solution.
Yeah.
It was, our auditors have worked with him and thought it was great, so good idea to try and see. You never know till you're in it, and so that's why we set the 10-hour check-in model.
Okay, that's good.
That's great.
How far are you reconciled on date with expenses?
So expenses are in a good spot. It's really just tax, sewer, and health insurance benefits are kind of the big ones that aren't reconciled. Bank statements were reconciled up through, we just wrapped up September.
Okay.
So really those are the 3 big ones outstanding from last fiscal year's audit. And then of
Gotcha,
course
okay.
getting FY26 budget in.
We could do revenue and expenses for year to date, it just doesn't have the budgeted
Yeah,
amount to
okay.
enter.
All right.
So if you want them, we can give them.
No,
It just doesn't really give you anything to compare it to.
Nope.
without the budget.
Yeah, I think it's fine too, yeah, just wanted to make sure that.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
If everything goes according to plan, I'm hopeful to have the FY26 budget rolled in by the end of the week and should have financials for you guys next time around.
Great. Perfect. Okay,
Everything goes well.
wonderful. All right, thank you.
So safer.
Yeah.
So we're doing this, and I'm gonna take advice from the committee. It was to look at the monthlies but it didn't say we had to look at them monthly.
That's good.
So I thought we were gonna look at them quarterly.
I'm
good
fine
with
with
That's
that,
what I
yeah.
always wanted, so
Okay.
I'm totally fine. I just wasn't sure when I read the text. I was like, oh,
Yep.
shoot, if we were supposed to be doing this, we're not. Quarterly is absolutely what I had thought was reasonable.
With monthly
But with that,
information.
Jacob,
Yeah, no, I-
don't get to see this.
yeah.
I would be way too much, honestly.
So we are, and I'll give you the full insights here. They are looking at. So this is the spreadsheet that we had built. This is what they were using and it
Yep.
continues to work. So it shows the number of. Shifts, total shift hour vacancies each month. The hours that were needed to fill, because we got some mandatory callbacks. So as you're looking through there, the month, in the month of September. There's 396 shift vacancies, 98 were forced call-ins. The difference of not filling was 298 hours, which is a 75% savings because we were at full staffing and had the ability to do that. So that's where you run down through there and he's run out some numbers where you look at that not filled is 3,000 hours for the year. And so when you took that into account, you can look down below,
But where are you looking at 3,000?
top far right, difference not filled, 3,060. Very top, all the way to the right.
I have 3,500. Oh, at the bottom, I see. The difference of, so the ones you did not have to fill.
There
were
was 3,000 hours.
There were 3,512 total, but we
Yep.
didn't have to fill 3,060 of them. Got it.
Yep.
Mhm.
So, and they've been doing some calculations on the, when you come down below, but they give you a value that they're estimating, and the way I read this is their cost per hour is 57.51. They used 4,331 hours for the total, but that is projecting the year. So they're showing a projected savings.
Yeah.
At different levels there. I like the line where they said 537 hours.
Yeah.
If we had been at 6 was $30,000. So you're showing 218,000 savings for the year.
Yeah.
I think that made sense. I think we have to refine this because I want to know what you want to know. That
This is
all
what
of
I
these
wanted to know.
these are
I'll
estimated
defer to
savings.
Sarah, this
Okay.
is, yeah.
This is pretty much what I wanted to know, always, and it's super helpful. I
Okay.
had a couple of questions, just, in the part here, these figures. So the figures in this middle short little chart, the ones where summary chart, then underneath it says these figures do not take into account sick time, only known vacancies such as vacations and training.
Yep.
But then the line below, which gets used down below, the 4,331 says, these are the hours including sick time?
Yep.
Okay, so we just didn't track those anywhere else, but they got tacked on here, that in addition to all these other hours, there's like 100 and so hours of sick time. Which
Yep.
also can mostly be covered by this sixth person,
Correct.
is what we're saying, okay?
Yep.
And so for me, this is what I always wanted to see, and it's very, very different than the numbers we were given, the last time we were given them.
Mhm.
So I pulled those up to look, like, when we were last given these numbers, estimated yearly overtime hours, they were estimating last time around that staffing at 5, we would have to pay 5,917 overtime hours, and that staffing at 6, we would still have to pay 4,852. And so I'm assuming that this previous one then was an error or didn't work because they weren't fully staffed up yet, or I'm not really sure where they got
We're
this
showing,
number.
I think they calculated all of it as if it was filled. Because if you look at right now that we're roughly at 3,500. You're gonna be close to 4,000 a year of missed hours, but we don't have to fill them.
Right, but
So they
that's
might be
always-
just reporting out the total number. This may be a better one. This might be a good segue that the next time we come in, that the fire, 'cause
Yeah.
the fire department's building the model. I said, I want consistency in the numbers.
Mhm.
It's hard for me to guess what the others meant, but Brian may know what they meant when they did those.
It doesn't really matter, except that I think we need to, I mean, if we know why they're different, for sure, that's great. But I understand that other people built this past model and these numbers, but I think it's important to say that these numbers we're looking at now have absolutely nothing in common with the numbers we were
Zero.
given before. Zero, because these were showing us that we had to pay $241,000 of overtime, even staffed at 6,
Mhm.
right? And now we're looking at figures saying,
We
staffed
had to
at
pay
6.
670 hours. Roughly.
Right, but that's not hours, that was actually the cost. I mean, if you look,
Yeah,
they were
yeah.
telling us this many hours of overtime would have to be paid, and this is what it would cost us staffed at 6. And now we're being told, actually, not true at all. Like, we are gonna have to pay hardly any. We only had to fill 670 hours, right?
At
to
$60
date.
an hour,
And-
you're talking $36,000.
Right, which is a drastically different number than 241,
Yep.
right?
Mhm.
And to me, this is finally data which I can look at and go, oh, this makes some sense to staff at 6,
Yep.
because the cost of staffing at 6, right, was just under 300,000.
Yep.
Salary and benefits wise, it was 287 or 91 or something like
Yep.
that. It was just under 300.
Yep.
Right, so if we're looking at a cost that I think was, I have it in the memo, but yeah, 278,721 was the cost to adding, to funding those positions. And if we can say, well, yes, that's the cost, but we are also saving 218,000.
Yep.
In no overtime, we're now looking at a cost of $60,000 to fund those 3 positions, which is very different than what we were handed as a council before.
And I
Or what
will
this
say,
is
our
gonna
numbers have
cost,
been
so-
very good through
Yeah.
October.
Yep.
We're gonna see a twist. We've got,
Someone's
we got
leaving.
some, we got some outages coming. And nothing bad, nothing long-term, just dealing with some issues and it's actually more than 1, 2 or 3 at the same time, so
Yeah.
that's gonna affect a few shifts, so we'll probably see the months of November and December creep
Come
up.
out of it.
And we'll, and I think that's what I'm, when I shared this model and we talked about this last year, I think that's the data we wanted to start seeing.
Yeah, this
And
is all.
start to be able to measure how often do we and be informed about what our staffing levels mean.
Yeah, but for me, this is always the data that I wanted to see, to be able to see like either there is or isn't a huge cost addition, or, it's a smaller or larger cost. And the data we were given to date had always been quite a high cost. I
Yes,
mean, that's a high cost to add in. And if we're actually looking at a cost that maybe it's not gonna be, 60, because maybe these next months won't be as good, so maybe it will cost us 80 or something. But 80 is still not 287, right? And I'm just grateful for these numbers. So what I mostly want to communicate is thank you to you and to the fire department for getting us figures that, we've asked for many, many years now as a council. I feel really good about this. How about you, Jacob?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have the back history that you do, so admittedly, I don't fully understand the entire piece, but yeah,
I mean, and these are actual
Yeah.
data about hours actually filled, so they're not projections, about what might happen. They're actually what has happened this year. Which is what I think, was the task when we took on the safer grants, was to track the data and see how it worked or it didn't work. So I feel like now we've actually done that. We've actually tracked it for almost a full year to see what it is costing us and what, and the cost is not 278. It's probably gonna be more around 200. I
Yep.
mean, I'm sorry, 70,
Yep.
right? The 200 will come out, right? So
Okay,
we're
good.
doing, so I think this is all I ever needed. And I
We
do
only
think
need
we,
it over quarterly. I don't
Right.
care.
quarters. I
Well,
mean, anytime we do it every month, I just thought, we're gonna put this on the agenda every month to talk about it.
no, quarterly is great, but what I wanted to say is that, the thing is though, the rest of council needs a report back on this data from us. Because.
January,
At least then, because the safer grant funding, we have to pick up when, Clint?
Can we just,
Runs out at the end of February.
Right, so it's really
just do
soon.
this as part of the budget process?
No, that's what I'm saying, the safer grant funding, he just told you, runs out at the end of February.
Well, I know, but we've
So
already.
that
approved
we
this
funded
year.
this year.
Yeah, we've already funded.
That's true.
this
So we
year,
could.
why don't you do, what we could do is just a quick drive-by, like December, January.
January, it would be good to give the rest of council an update, because it's been such
Mention
an
it
ongoing thing.
Yeah, sure.
And it may come up that the safer grants are ending, like someone could, bring it
Yeah.
up that they're ending at the end of February, so I think being proactive about that. Well, Andrea is the one who wanted us to actually track these every month,
Yeah.
right? So like it could not, anyway, I
Okay,
still think a report out before the safer grants end in February would be smart. So
Yep.
either in January or February, a report on, finance committee having looked at this data and it actually looking like the cost is 278, whatever, to fund the 3 positions, and the savings and overtime looks like it will be around 200. So, that's what we'll be looking at for an additional.
We'll measure the calendar year, so it'll be good that we'll give you January is probably the best one.
Yeah, 'cause
We'll
then
get
the
an
year's
update on
closed.
the year and.
yeah, that works.
I think it's great. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Spending thresholds. We've been talking about this off and on for like the past 10
So we
months.
never really got.
We never really
Yeah.
yeah, we kind of start to stop. So after our meeting in August or September, when we got bogged down just reviewing the ordinance, we decided it was more simple if we come up with certain thresholds that then could be discussed, agreed upon, not agreed upon, and then we would take those and put them in the ordinance. Because as you see, the ordinance has to do with a lot more than just spending. So, I guess my first thought is, what are your general thoughts on these thresholds in the flow chart?
So the question I've been wanting to ask, kind of since we started these conversations, and we sort of got other
Yeah.
directions, I never really got to ask, I'm not fully sold yet on the why we need different thresholds for operating and capital. And
Yeah.
I do understand that capital costs are generally higher, that I get, but I have some concerns about setting double sets of limits.
Okay.
And I think that it's a little bit more confusing, and we've seen multiple times on council that, Clint has talked to us about certain things used to be counted on the operating side, but he
Mhm.
thinks they should be counted as capital or vice versa. So I feel like there's some discretion in how management counts things, and I just don't want to create a situation where,
We make something capital.
right, where management, I'm not saying you would, but I
I
just
know,
still feel like it
and-
could become a game of the system,
that's-
sort of how we count stuff, and I kind of don't want to go down
And
that
that's
path.
fine,
So,
this is not I'm not gonna die on this hill.
Yeah.
And we can combine them, but then I would recommend
Alright.
that we,
Yeah.
exactly, we increase the thresholds.
right, so I just was wondering, like, and I did, like, ask the schools what theirs currently are, they've adjusted theirs several
Yeah.
times, they have this two-tiered thing too. And I asked if they had separate ones, they don't, they have singles, they have less capital stuff than us, so it may
Yeah.
not be a relevant comparison, I'm not assuming, I'm thinking it is, but.
Mhm.
They did say they did, anything over 10 required a bid process, but nothing until it hit 50 required a school board vote, so I was like, could we come up with, maybe you find something in the middle of this range, like you say, you've got over 10 for operating and over 25 for capital. I mean, maybe we settle on 15 or 20,
Yeah.
and likewise, you've got 25 on operating and 75 on capital, so maybe we just settle on 50, in the middle of those two. And I could be convinced of the need for double ones, but my thought was it's just more complication for staff to try to keep track of which kind of thing it is. And then I also wonder about whether it incents people to put things in certain categories, and that's my only thing. And I'd like to hear from Clint and Zach too, and obviously from you, who spent more time thinking about it, so.
Who's first?
You go for it, you guys are the ones that are gonna live with it.
Yeah, what do you guys
I
think?
mean, the trick here right now is, I like the exceptions. We're under a lot of exceptions. And we gotta separate ourselves from the exceptions because we agreed,
You mean
we're,
these other ones
Yeah.
that we were talking about ahead
yeah,
of
like
time?
professional services.
Right, so just for the public, apart from this, there's like, no one's probably listening, but there are exceptions for if we have sole source procurement, because there is only one vendor, if we're involved in a collaborative deal with the state or with other municipalities, if it's an emergency procurement, there's also exceptions for ongoing professional services. We don't have to keep rebidding things
Yeah,
for
Correct.
someone who's already working for us. So there's lots of times when this doesn't even apply. So
Right.
go ahead, sorry, just wanted to.
So when we go back to this, we have talked about some of the ongoing
Mhm.
professional services. That we're gonna have more of a master list and work on that here
Mhm.
internally that you guys will go through it. For example, right now, we're looking at workers' comp coverage.
Right,
We do not, that's way over any of these thresholds.
Yeah.
It does not ever get a council agenda item, but we are currently going out to bid. When we pick, it will be a council order to pick
Yeah.
company A or B. So, I think that's what's gonna help me a ton. That was the biggest step forward. I think more than that, though, is it gets more towards the budgeted and capital one-time larger items. So each year, there's something that we're not gonna buy every year. But we're buying something big every year. How much time does staff put into it?
Yeah.
So we're looking at, things for equipment, things for contracts for services, just different things that we need a one-year deal. And I guess I look at that is that I definitely feel comfortable with 10,000. If it's under that,
Yeah.
this should not be
Yeah.
filling up council agendas
No.
for sure. Where it gets me is that, okay, we're out there, we're buying, the capital improvement program's approved. Says we're gonna buy 3 cruisers. We go buy the 3 cruisers. At what point do those 3 cruisers, is it consent agenda? Is it a council agenda to approve? Because with those, and again, and I messed one up recently and I said, yeah, go ahead, that's approved. And I'm like, whoa, and we got it back onto the next agenda. And it didn't mess us up, but again, we'd agreed to buy a truck for less than 75,000. The truck came in at 59.
right.
Under current rules, I needed to get your permission to do it.
and that's where I came up with that 75 number, or he came up with that 75 number is, I personally don't want to approve, nor do I need to know every time the town buys a new
Right.
vehicle or something. We've already
We've
approved
already
it as part of the
Yeah.
process.
And we should be clear on that too, that this only
Oh,
applies
this
to things
only-
that are already in on
exactly,
this, but I just
yeah.
think for the record, we should be clear that this policy only applies to things that are not already approved in the budget,
Yeah.
Correct.
right?
It's not in the budget, I have to get you
Right, so
permission.
not only,
Or-
sorry, yeah,
I mean, if it's,
right. If it's not in the budget, it's a whole other thing. Things in the budget
Yes,
is what we're
exactly.
talking about there.
Yeah.
Sorry for my lack of
Yeah.
clarity.
yeah, I like it.
So how do you feel about one set of numbers as opposed to one operating and one capital? Does that, having a separate capital make your lives easier or harder? How do you?
Tons
feel?
easier.
Sounds easier, yeah, I was, my kind of stance on it, and, if we could have something in there that says it's a part of the budget for a capital project, that we don't need to go through, you guys approve the budget, it's already on there, not having those additional approvals as invoices come in throughout a project would make our life a lot easier.
I like the subject to bid award though, because I mean, I think this, it's a small road project and we're gonna throw down $125,000 worth of payment. You've approved $1 million worth of payment this year, but the bid comes in for the 125 to do street Z. That should get to you guys, or at a minimum, you should have approved the paving bid for the year that we're gonna use company X for all pavement projects. This is the price, we have $1 million worth of paving, the paving bid came in at 975.
Right.
These are the roads we're gonna do, because I think it's one of the, because I hear from time to time, well, what roads are we doing, what projects are we on? That's what you're missing, is this is what we put out to bid, these are the roads we're gonna do, and I think sometimes staff has said, well, we decided to cancel Sunset and we're gonna do Westwood.
Yeah.
Because it just, the numbers didn't work, and so we should go back to council and say, hey, we're canceling Sunset to do Westwood.
Wait, so I'm still a little bit
Yeah.
confused. Can we just back up a minute? So apart from where it goes on the agenda and whether, I don't know how that ties into whether we already approved in the budget. Just my question about which version makes your life easier, if there's the same threshold for operating and capital, or if there are double thresholds?
Same,
I think same would be easier.
Okay.
mine. Okay.
and I think
So
the
could
number
we
that you
just agree
said,
on some numbers that work then for everything, Jacob? Are you?
I
good with
know
that?
that is perfect. I
so
love
what's
that.
the number when you have to vote to approve it, no matter what?
So, right.
It's in the budget, but the number's so big.
I
you wanna
certainly
reaffirm
don't,
it.
I don't feel like I need to see anything under 50 for operating or capital for sure. Personally, I mean, currently you had 25 for operating and 75 for capital. I don't know how I feel about 75, but 50 for sure, I feel comfortable.
So, but the other piece to this, and I love that because we're making the number higher, is what bid process it is.
Right, I know, let's backtrack on that though, let's just start at the top
Yeah.
limit one, so.
So under
Does 50
50,
work, or do you feel like 75 would make life significantly easier? You gave us that data on how
Yeah,
things fall in
yeah.
each category, and I'm sorry I don't have that file
No.
open, it was from 2 months ago, did someone have it open?
I don't, but I can pull it up real quick, but I will let them respond just conceptually to that.
I mean, the other thing I think is that once we rewrite the ordinance. I mean, obviously make a suggestion to council, we will
Yes.
decide whether to rewrite the ordinance, but it's also a simple fix to come back in another 6 months and say, actually, we really kind of need these higher, like 50 was almost where we need to be, but 70 would be
Yeah.
easier, we can do it.
Well,
again.
you'll see
No, I did to
Right.
25, but there's 115 over 25.
Right, how many are over 50, was my
I
question.
don't know
You did
that.
it to 25
I
for
didn't-
operating, but you did to 75 for capital, so I picked the middle and said 50.
No, but what I have, it didn't include all the capital,
Oh.
so I just had operating.
Oh.
Let me, I can do that real quick.
I'm looking at it right
Zach's
now.
looking at it too, I'm gonna let you guys crunch numbers.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff that was over 50 was just kind of regular operational stuff, county tax, school budget, fire hydrants.
Which you don't have to approve the county taxes, you see it, I show you every year, it's $1 million bill and I pay it. And it's not like we have to go to vote, you have no option, we're legally obligated to pay it, so I don't.
So if we settled at 50, there'd be a couple more capital expenses we might hear about. I like the idea of things showing up on the consent agenda to me, once they're already in the budget.
I think that's the way.
Yeah.
50 consent agenda,
I like
People
over
can Pull
50.
it off.
action item.
Well, hold on,
Wait.
under 50, no, I don't need
You
to
need to
see,
see under 50.
No,
Under
over 50.
Consent agenda.
yeah,
Oh, over 50 on consent agenda.
yeah.
Okay.
If it's in
So
my
what if
budget-
it's so
I don't need to specifically vote, and this is public, but our conversation about buying the excavator that we had many different times was wholly unnecessary.
Well, so, I mean, under 50,
and you can pull it if you want.
right,
Makes
because
sense.
everyone knows that we can pull anything off the consent
Yeah.
agenda, and Dan announces it every time
Mhm.
at the beginning of the consent agenda, that anyone can pull anything off.
Well, what if we got it too, that, what if it's leadership when working with the manager decides that something is unique enough that it should be action item.
Sure.
I see things over 50 that I would not be comfortable placing on a consent agenda.
Because they don't have to go on consent, they can all
Yeah.
come to action as far as I'm concerned, if you prefer it. But
I also want to be cognizant of staff and,
Right.
because every expense that goes on the agenda, most comes with a memo, that takes time to draft.
Yep.
So, so
So
Zach, what was the
50,
answer to how many over 50 goals, how many times is staff gonna have to deal with this in a year?
Not too many, no, there's a few capital equipment things, and then the rest fall into the world of infrastructure, which is kind of a whole different.
fire
Well,
hydrants.
Okay.
Yep.
So, I mean, I personally feel very comfortable with that if we
So
already
under
put it
50,
in it and it's in the budget. I don't, unless we get over 50, I don't see the need that we need to revote on something that we've already
I
put in
agree
the
with
budget.
that.
That's me.
in budget being key phrase.
Right, in budget is
Under
really
50.
important, like it has to be in the budget already.
Legit.
So in other words, we put in the budget, we're gonna buy a $45,000 trailer. Staff goes, we don't want the trailer, we want a pickup truck. Okay, guess what, guys? It's not in the budget anymore. I have to go to council.
Yeah, I think, but again, it can show.
I
up
agree.
on
I
the
think
consent
that's what I
agenda.
think that's the
It can
right.
show up on the consent agenda, it's say,
Yeah.
hey, we're not buying this, we're buying this instead, cost
Yeah.
is comparable,
Mhm.
or cost.
So is
is
this
slightly
truly
different.
two thresholds, 15 under, 15 over?
No, there's an under one that we need to, so. You're talking about when, there's a different issue about
Oh,
when
no
these have
bids.
to be bid.
Yeah.
So we haven't touched the bid yet. Can I just ask one more thing,
Yeah.
on the higher issue? The other exception that I think is important is. I think there needs to be some language, and maybe it's here somewhere and I missed it, something about. Not just that council needs to hear about it again if it's over 50. I think council also needs to vote. Anytime we're committing ourselves to a contract of more than a certain number of years. Does that make sense? Like, I mean, because even if the contract is only like 30,000 a year. I guess I'd be comfortable with a 3-year contract or maybe 4, but there's gotta be a limit where I would think council should hear about it before staff is committing us to a contract of 5 or 10 years, or I don't know. Do we have anything like that in our language so far? Because the cost obviously yearly isn't gonna look that large, but it's fairly significant if it's multiple years over time, right? Do we have anything around length of contract and when?
Said that I'm allowed to sign any term, any year, as long as they're included in the process that they were disclosed. And that it's clear that the first fiscal period at the time of contracting, that the money was there. So I can't sign a contract for money that's not yet appropriated in the budget.
Oh, so,
But,
And then payment performance obligations for succeeding fiscal years shall be subject to an appropriation clause, which we do put in there. The most rigorous we have is, we do have the non-appropriations clause.
yeah,
Some of them have, you gotta give us 90 days notice. So that's where some of them be bought before the end of the term. So we're starting to map those ones all out. So like, some of our software licenses automatically renew annually unless we give the 90-day notice.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to clean up the timing and just say, you know what, or I start giving more 90-day notice.
how do you ever sign a multiple year contract then if it says you can't sign it unless it's already been budgeted? Like, I'm just.
as an appropriations clause, it says, we're signing this contract, but if
If
council
it's
doesn't approve the
funds
budget,
it,
yeah, then.
And all of our contracts have that, so you sign a 5-year contract, but it actually is really, they know that only 1 year is guaranteed, because next year council could say no,
Some of them,
but not all of
correct.
them. Okay, some do, but not all. I don't know.
Some of them have the non-appropriation, but with the notice requirement, it ends up we may be obligated for an additional year, so it might be an indefinite period of time. We have indefinite contracts for some of our services. And it goes on and on and on forever. One of them, we're gonna expire this year. We're gonna give them notice this spring. It's already on everybody's calendar. Give them notice, we're out, we're not gonna use it. It's appropriated this year. Had you wanted to not appropriate it, I would have had to pay the additional year no matter what.
Yeah.
Because I didn't give notice 90 days before the renewal.
Yeah.
And do most of our renewal dates, I mean, it seems like it'd be smart to get our renewal dates to happen
Working on it.
90 days after the
Yeah,
budget gets
we're,
passed.
you
so
know,
we
we're
have-
working on
yeah.
some of those things. We're trying to consolidate terms. It's tricky. I think for the most part, as long as councilors realize that there's just a lot, we don't have a purchasing agent.
Right.
So we're managing this within the team.
Yeah.
And we do as best we can. And sometimes we might find that we have an extra year of obligation that we may or may not want. And that's where I talk to the department saying, if you're not using something, you need to tell me so we can opt out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, Sarah, but I,
It sounds
Yeah.
too much to you.
yeah.
Okay, I was just
Especially if we
thinking if
have
it was
the
like 5 years
clauses.
enough, it might be smart to make sure council.
Well, why
is
don't we,
aware
I
of
mean, I
the
think this
signing
gets
of all
into the deal
contracts.
that when I'm signing you those contracts, we're going to put together that list of contracts with all the multi-year contracts. term expiration. That's what I'm working towards. We just,
Right, well, so maybe, I mean, I guess if we're putting together a list, that's great, but we'll see the list once, and so, I mean, this is sort of my comment of, then you don't have to keep re-bringing us a list all the time. It's like the next time you add one to that list that's 5 years or longer, we get notified, like, we have to vote, like, is Clint saying, I want to sign a 5-year deal with this? I mean, I don't know. It's up to you. You just want to be notified. You don't want us to vote, is what you're saying.
Well, I think that as long as our contracts are appropriately structured so that they're not obligating us to approve funding in perpetuity,
Right, then we're okay.
then
I agree.
that's,
So it's fine. You can let that go. Okay,
Okay.
so back to
So-
the, when we have to bid things.
yeah,
Which you had put a 10,000 threshold for operating and a 25 for capital.
yeah.
So if we were to settle on one threshold.
well, I don't want to call it bidding. That's one of the things.
Well, it's the process by which
Right,
we
it's not always
acquire
bidding.
things.
Yep.
Exactly.
So before, right, there's an in-between level, which, you know, what, the way this looked before was below a certain thing. There's no formal process that has to happen.
Yeah,
And then in this mid-range, there is a small bid formal process, but council doesn't have to vote.
well,
And then in the top level, council has to vote. Those are the three.
and the small bid process
Mhm.
is less, less in depth, less intrusive. You know, we're going to buy a car, a police cruiser from
Yeah.
Darlene's. I don't think, we're not going to 3 dealerships and
I don't
making
know
this
what
a
the small
public.
bid process is. Is it in
Small
here
bid to
somewhere?
me, the way that staff's been doing it,
Let's
is
look
call
at it.
around and give them quotes.
Right, that sounds right. So where is that in here, just so I know what part of the ordinance we're looking at? That'd be helpful to me. Here, small purchases under a certain amount, the town manager shall adopt operational procedures for making them, such
Yeah.
operational procedures will
Sounds
provide
right.
for obtaining adequate and reasonable competition for the supply, service, and construction. So that is C4. On the latest version, with the edits, under, oh gosh, that's one.
What's in there?
Okay, well, it's in section 2-124. And
Oh, yeah,
it is
small purchases, yeah.
P4,
Yep,
I
okay.
think. We
Yep.
good?
So-
Yeah. So that's fine. So we're asking, what is that threshold at which the town manager has to, right?
Yes,
Okay, and then for small purchases over that amount. Oh, wait, so let's backtrack. So.
The wording is horrible here.
Okay.
yeah.
Just
Okay.
this is gonna get cleaned
I
up.
got it. But C3 is actually talking for us about things that are over this threshold.
Mhm.
And C4 talks about under. So under the threshold, whatever we set, whether we set 10,000 or 20, it's currently 7,500. So if we set 10,000 or if we set 15 or if we set 20, under that, staff simply have to call around to find out what's a reasonable price.
Or maybe not even call around, just say, we're buying it off a bill.
Uh-huh.
Bill sold it to us for 8 years, or Mary, whoever
Overall,
that person
well,
is.
at the moment, it says the town manager has operational procedures for how the staff does that.
Yeah, and we're not going to competitive pricing
Right.
under 7,500.
Right, so
Yep.
this is just whatever operational procedures the manager sets.
Yep.
But then in C3, insofar as is practical, 3 businesses shall submit quotations. So this is this mid-range where quotations are being asked for, but council doesn't need to vote. Staff is gonna look at those quotations and make a decision.
Yep.
That's the category we're trying to figure
Yeah.
out what is the threshold to.
So
to
if you
start
want
that.
me to get 3 quotes,
What do you guys think?
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, we have,
Yeah,
I think maybe the 50 to 75K range would be a good fit for that. To start
Okay.
moving the
for operating
quotes.
and, quotes, for operating.
hey, if they're gonna go out and buy me a lawnmower, I want them to give me 3 quotes. Cause it's close to 10 grand in price, 20 grand
Yeah,
in some cases.
I think we're at 50 for when council needs to vote. This needs to be a lower threshold than
Okay.
that. So, you said, so do you feel like you want to be at 10? You want to be at 15? Where do you want to be at this?
It's gonna be in the procedures manual,
Mhm.
up
I
to
would
this
say
number.
probably 10. 10 would be
So 10 to 50, 10
10
to 50
10 to 50.
is this kind of middle ground.
Where I'm getting quotes.
Under
And
10.
the only way, and what I'd like to have it say is the 10 to 50. If I'm not going with the low price, I can
At
put it
least
on,
rationalize it.
the
Yeah.
consent agenda.
Okay, sure.
It's that simple, because I think that's what it's in, because a lot of times staff will come in and you got the 3 quotes, and that's on consent agenda. It's in there. It's a short note.
Mhm.
We're buying this one because we own 3 lawnmowers that are all John Deere's. Toro beat them this time, but we don't want to switch to John Deere from Toro. We want another John Deere. It's $600 more, and I would just put it on the consent agenda.
Okay, so this section will be between 10 and 50. And you'll put it on the consent agenda when you're not taking the low quote, is what you're thinking you would like. And then over 50, council has to take a vote. And what did we decide? Is that also going on the
That's
consent
consent.
agenda? Or
That-
is that going to action? There was discussion between the two of you about that, and I don't know where we settled.
I think it's
I'm
consent
okay
with
with-
manager and leadership
exactly.
discretion that
It's
it's.
fine,
yeah.
because things can always be taken off the consent agenda by anyone, any member of the public and any counselor, just has to
Yeah.
ask.
And I think the town manager should have the full discretion, whenever he or she wants, to
Yeah.
place it on the agenda.
100%.
I mean, a perfect
because
example is
anything that
tonight.
needs to be talked
We
about.
got an item on the agenda tonight that by these rules would be a consent agenda. Because it was a quotation process, we went through a process, came in, and this is the only price we got, because we agreed we were only gonna negotiate.
Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe.
And then somebody could pull it if they didn't want that. But real quick on that, so the 50 threshold for a formal bid. Is that going to hamstring or cause undue? I'm just thinking.
Well, I wanna know what
a
formal
police
bid is.
cruiser. I mean, that's where you get three,
It's a 10 threshold, they just said for having.
10 to 15 for this
10 to
10 to
50
50,
50. Okay, so
10 to 50.
is where we call around and do what we want on our own,
okay.
and then
We
what
have
we're,
to have 3 bids.
3 prices.
Okay, well, here.
Okay, so this is
change the
what
language,
formal
'cause,
bid
right,
to me, I wanna get to this,
Right.
formal bid
Yeah.
means something.
I
It
know,
means that we put out a letter, we
I
set a
know.
date and time that they're gonna be due by.
That's,
We
yeah,
open them all at the same time, and I don't like that.
so this doesn't say bid right now, it says businesses shall be submitted to submit quotations.
Correct,
And I think that's fine language for what you're saying.
I agree,
right?
10
Yeah,
to 50.
Yeah,
Now, when we're in the 50 plus.
Yeah. at that point, you want 50 plus, you're talking about bidding, actual official bidding.
Yes,
Okay, so 50 plus then activates not just 3 price quotations, it's 3
That's-
actual
yes.
bids. And council has to vote on it. It can go on the consent agenda or an action item at the discretion of the manager and the leadership team. And council can always ask to take things off the consent agenda.
Correct.
Are we in agreement?
but
I'm
it's
not, because the
Which part do I
problem
get
I
wrong?
have is that, so we're gonna go out, and we're gonna buy a pickup truck.
Mhm.
We
That's-
gotta write, now, I
Yeah,
gotta write,
that's
I've gotta write a
fine.
bid spec.
Okay, so we don't want the formal bids even over 50.
Correct, I think that's, formal bids is gonna be an interesting threshold, there's gotta be some sort of
So what
process
triggers
where.
that?
I mean, we just bought a 3/4 ton pickup. You can't buy a 3/4
Oh, yeah.
ton pickup for under 70,000. We did not write a bid spec. We
Right.
told them what we were looking
Yeah.
for. We said, everybody give us your quotes. I
Yeah.
think that it's gonna be on the consent agenda anyway. I think that I don't think you can put a number on it. I think that's the problem. I mean, we just did what we did with benchmark
Mm-hmm.
and for this process, and that is the formal kind of process, because
Yeah.
I had you pre-approve the bid document.
but I would
I feel
like
like
some
we have to have
level
some
of.
level, because,
Correct.
yeah, so if 50 is not the right level for that, then we need to talk, so I think. Because that's really what the 50 threshold here, I know we were talking about when does council have to vote, but what it really is talks about in the ordinance is more about when.
When we.
What is the
bid.
threshold when you have to start a formal bidding process? So.
Correct. We
So,
buy a lot of things over 50 grand.
okay, but
Yeah.
how many things do you buy over 100? That would be a problem to get official bids on.
I think anything over 100 is probably gonna be an infrastructure project.
It's
From what I've
fine,
seen.
we would do a formal bid.
Okay, so over 100 we're comfortable with. How do we feel about 75? Let's figure out where the point is.
I think 75 would be a good threshold. That would get most of our equipment into at least that rotation category. Where we're price checking, but we're not doing a full formal
Mhm.
bid.
And that's what I was getting at, is
Right.
that up to 50, I'm doing an informal, formal process.
Mhm.
Why can't the council have an informal, formal process from 50 to 100? And then at 100, we're buying something 100 grand, we're gonna do a real bid.
Mhm.
So, for example, we're about to buy a $200,000 plow truck. Yes, put together a bid spec, put it out to bid.
So
So there's
then,
4 levels
so
then,
there's 4 levels,
right?
so there's
Low 10.
low 10, 10 to 50.
50 to 100, and then over 100, right?
But
Correct.
anything over 50 requires council vote.
Right.
So
I
what
got
I'm getting at is, so say we go out, we think it's gonna be under 100.
Mhm.
And we do the informal quotes, and they come back, and the one week, they all come in at 102. I'm not rebidding this, I'm bringing it to the council saying, I put it out, we thought it was gonna be under 100. Came in 102. It's on your consent agenda. If you don't like it, you can tell me to rebid it.
So then, okay, so then why don't, so you're still gonna use the small bid process where you go out, you do internet research, etc.
Yeah, but it's just, I guess on the 50 to 100, we're gonna do some internet research and different stuff. 50 to 100, we're gonna ask for proposals.
Right, 3
It just
quotes,
wouldn't be
but
a-
not 3 bids.
Correct.
There's a
3
difference
bids means,
between 3 quotes and 3 bids.
yeah,
Understood.
bids means a sealed process, common date and time to open.
Uh-huh. And 10 to 50 is the small purchases category where, well, we may rename these, but
Yeah,
10 to 50 means. You still will probably try to get 3 quotes,
Yep.
but no council vote needed, right?
as
All
long
right,
as it's
so
in the budget.
Jacob, what I wrote was below 10. There's really.
nothing.
I
No
mean,
bid,
well,
from a
it
bid
says
perspective.
Their operational
Yes,
procedure,
exactly,
the town
yes,
manager
yep.
design, below 10.
Yep.
10 to 50 would be 3 quotes. And the manager has discretion to choose and sign. Clint has added that if he doesn't take a low quote, he would want to put it on the consent agenda to tell us why,
Mhm.
correct? Then 50 to 100 would be, again, 3 quotes, not 3 bids, and a council vote required, even though it already was in the budget, still another council vote.
Yep.
And then 100 and up would be 3 formal
Formal
bids
process, yeah.
and council vote.
And you're all
So it's
likelihood,
flip-flopped.
and you're all likelihood, I'm gonna give you the bid doc. To see before I put down the bid.
Sure.
I don't, so last, before you finish this, I want the 15-day business taken out.
Where is that?
That it says that if we go to bid, that they have to be due within 15 days.
Can you show me
I want the,
what section we're talking
you
about?
just read it, Sarah. It's the section you were in, and I said, we can't do this. Competitive bids designated,
Yeah.
124A1B, public notice. Invitation to bid should be given with a reasonable time, not less than 15 calendar days set forth. Such notice should be included in a newspaper of
So how
general
many days do you
circulation.
want?
I
You don't want any.
don't think it should say, it should be given with public notice with a reasonable amount of time, no days. And it should say on the website or newspaper.
Okay.
It does
Okay,
not have
I
to
think-
have, because the newspaper's costing us $300 a pop.
Yeah.
Right,
no,
so I think there's gonna
agree.
be lots of other changes that you and Jacob already were working on that are
Yeah.
gonna come back to us. I just thought our goal today was to
Okay.
talk about
That's
levels.
exactly it. Oh,
So I
perfect,
feel
okay.
like we've hit,
We did,
levels?
yes,
and Jacob, you took
What was
notes,
just that?
so.
yes,
we
and
write this
I,
up,
yeah, yep,
and that feels.
I think that's
manageable
good.
as a proposal to bring back to council that there'd be 4 different levels, and here's how they work, and we
think
now know how important it is to talk about 3 quotes versus 3 bids. when you write it,
Exactly.
Jacob.
So from a procedural standpoint. Does the finance committee want to see the revised ordinance before it goes to council, or, okay, so that's gonna be next month for review.
Yeah, for sure,
Perfect.
because there's all these other details that you guys had already flagged in comments,
Okay.
and some that Clint has said verbally, and
Okay.
I think us talking through them is important before it goes to council, so that we all feel like, okay, these make sense, and we've given it our best shot, and then council can. be able to-
So the one that got me the other day, just to give you a clue and where this gets weird, because we bought 2 different things from the same company.
Mhm,
The auditor came back and said, you exceeded your threshold. I said,
Right.
there are 2 different things.
Right,
And they said, no, we're not going with that. And I said, okay, then how do you deal with the fact that I go out and buy $10,000 worth of Amazon supplies? I get one bill, we pay it. I didn't have council authorization to spend 10,000 at Amazon. Well, and they go, you need to clean that up. I said, no, it's not that much to clean up.
Yeah.
If we're buying multiple different things through the same vendor, it's whether
Yeah.
it's Amazon or Pork Auto.
Yeah.
It's different things.
It's-
I'm under the same threshold as long as because what it was is they were, what, $1,200, $1,500 a piece. And but we bought like 6 of them. And they said, well, you're over. And I said, no,
but it wasn't 6 of the same thing.
I would sign me out.
Okay, well, all right, we're done,
I
and I guess,
But I mean, it wasn't the same thing, Clint, it wasn't like you bought 6 tables, like
Correct.
all were one line item in the budget, they were
No,
6
It was
different
4
line.
radios and 4 battery chargers.
But were they different line items in the budget or one line item?
It was all equipment.
No, but I'm just curious, because again, from a council perspective, like if what we approved was a line item that said, $100,000 in radios, or $50,000 in radios, or $10,000 in radios, and you bought
$10,000 worth of small equipment, the discretion of the department to do the things they need on an annual
so then you
basis.
just would have to follow the rule for whatever 10,000 said,
That's
if it
what I
came to
told-
10,000.
That's what I told the
But
auditor.
yeah,
And
once we're auditing is more,
Okay.
it becomes an
anyway,
audit.
all right, that was good, progress made.
No, thank you, I appreciate